Don't do it. Put down your credit card, put away that debit card, put the cash back in your wallet, and go for a walk or take a nap. If you decide to make a purchase or place an order before you watch this video, you might catch a case of buyer's remorse. And I'm here to stop you before it's too late. You can probably agree with me that there is no worse feeling than buying a product, going home, trying the product, and realizing quickly that you made a mistake. Especially when it comes to beauty products, because they do expire, and sometimes there might not be someone in your life that you can pass it on to because they might not have the same shade preferences or skin tone. I cannot tell you how many times I bought a beauty product and realized I wasted my money. I have wasted, I can't even count, probably thousands of dollars on really bad beauty products. Now granted, as a disclaimer, my relationship with makeup is always going to be different from a viewer's relationship with makeup because I create content about beauty products and makeup products. I tend to buy, to try, and make mistakes so that you don't have to make those mistakes. But even then, I'm trying to reformat my channel in a way or re-strategize my channel where I'm not constantly buying products to review, because most of the products that I buy is with my own money. It is still painful to buy a product that I don't end up liking. The only exception is if I get the product in PR, then I feel like it's not as much of a loss. But again, my relationship when it comes to consuming makeup, whether through PR or buying with my own money, is always going to be a little bit different. My job here is to help you from making bad purchasing decisions. I do have a couple of videos on my channel where I chat about all of the products that I regret buying and wish I could return. If you are interested in watching, then I will link it somewhere in the cards in the description so that you can watch it after this one. The problem with constantly making bad purchasing decisions, especially when it comes to beauty, is that you end up with a lot of mediocre products that you never like, never use, never want to touch, or can't give away. So then you end up deciding to declutter it, which then makes you feel worse because you realize that you wasted all of your money on products that you don't even like. So in this video, I want to help you make smarter purchasing decisions in the future by sharing with you all of the types of products that I feel like you almost always will regret buying, or products that you may want to declutter. As always, let's start a conversation in the comments below. Let me know what products you've ended up decluttering or regretted buying. First product I think you will almost always regret buying, and a common pattern I notice in a lot of makeup declutters that I watch, are products that do not match your skin tone or your shade preferences. This includes foundations, concealers, blushes, eyeshadow, lip products, any shade match situation that doesn't align with your skin or your preferences, you will almost always regret. And you might think, yeah, that's common sense. Let's not buy something that we aren't going to like, but you will not believe how many people do this, including myself. I think the culprit to a situation like this is usually because when we're in Sephora or Ulta, we have these intentions to get the right shade match, and honestly, the lighting in these stores are god awful that we might think it's the right shade match, but we get home and it's the wrong shade match. Or someone at Sephora or Ulta helps shade match us, but again, the lighting, the perspective can still lead to the wrong shade match. I've also noticed that people tend to buy things in the wrong shade when they don't have the original shade they wanted in stock. So people will tend to settle for whatever is in stock in that moment because they really want that formula, they really want that product, especially if it's a viral product that's always kind of sold out. I notice people will tend to buy like lipstick shades or lip shades that aren't right for them, or they notice someone else is wearing that lipstick shade and they think it's gonna look good on them, but they don't realize your skin tone is different, which then causes the product to look different on your skin tone. So there's so many different reasons that can really cause you to buy the wrong shade of foundation, concealer, lip product, blush product, and those reasons might not all really be your fault, but I do have other recommendations to try to help you prevent this that might feel a little bit more in control. So number one is to ask for foundation or concealer samples if you can. I know I've heard that some Sephoras in different areas don't allow samples anymore, but if you're able to, that is going to be your best bet, because then you can take those samples home and look at them in different lighting to see if it actually matches you. If you can't get the sample, the second best bet is to find a product that already matches you at home that you really like. Maybe you don't like the formula, but you like the color. So if that's your closest shade match, bring that in store, swatch it on your hand, and then compare it to the actual foundation formula you want and see if there's any shades in that formula that's going to match what you already have at home. And then my third recommendation, which doesn't always work, but if you can, is to find a content creator or a beauty influencer that has a very similar skin tone to you. Find out what their shades are in certain foundations and concealers and use that as kind of like a baseline as what might work for you. And this is why I think that there is value in content creators and beauty influencers that try products and review products, because we can use them as a resource to make better purchasing decisions for ourselves. I feel like this is kind of a rant. I feel like right now these beauty influencers and content creators are getting hated on because they are over consuming, whether that's in PR or shopping. And I get it to that extent from an outsider's point of view, but also at the same time, if we didn't have beauty creators and content creators making this type of content for us, who would we go to for shade references? I wouldn't be able to go to my mom for shade references because she's a different skin tone than me. My friends are a different skin tone than me. So my only source is to go online and to find someone that is a shade twin with me to figure out if I'm falling within the same ballpark or not. The next product that I think you almost always will regret buying is for those of you who are lazy or have limited time. These products are fussy products, the ones that take too much work to use or are just hard to use in general. I'm talking about products like the Rare Beauty Liquid Blush. I'm talking about products like loose powders. Anything that seems out of the way is probably out of the way and you shouldn't purchase. A product can be good but still be too much work to use. Our natural human instincts usually, again, depending on our lifestyle, is to reach for the thing that's easiest for us and doesn't cause a lot of blockers in our life. And that's why I think anything that causes a fuss is just not worth buying, because it's always going to fall behind and it's always going to get less use than the products that are easy for you to use. Now, I feel like a lot of you, including myself, are going to be able to relate to this point, and I think we are all guilty of doing it, and it's buying products for your fantasy self. I think we do this a lot when it comes to shopping. It could be your fantasy self when it comes to your home, your fantasy self when it comes to your clothes and your shoes and your makeup and your skincare. We tend to shop for our fantasy self often, and part of it is our fault, but the other part of it is truly marketing and advertising. In marketing and advertising, it is literally practice to create this fantasy version for a consumer that we aspire to be, to encourage us to buy products. A great example of that is Victoria's Secret and the Victoria's Secret Angels. It was created as something that is aspirational, and if we want to aspire to be something, to look like something, we are likely going to buy those products. Basic sales, basic marketing, basic advertising, but for that reason, a lot of us fall victim to buying products for our fantasy self. When I buy products for my fantasy self, it's usually things like bold lipstick, specifically red lipstick, colorful eyeshadow that I will probably never wear, or makeup for events. Here's the thing. My current self, as you can tell about what I'm wearing on my lips right now, I don't really actually like bold lipstick like that. I don't like or feel comfortable or confident in wearing bold red lipstick. Have I worn it every once in a blue moon? Yes, but every time I wear it, I don't feel like myself. I think in order for us to make the best purchases, it's not to buy for our fantasy self, but it's to buy for our present self. So what is your current lifestyle? What is your current budget? What is your current preferences when it comes to makeup. And that will change over time. And when it does, let's say you do end up becoming your fantasy self, then that's when you start making those purchases for your new version of yourself, when you start to notice a transition. But right now, you're not in that transition, and it's not worth spending hundreds and thousands of dollars on things that you probably won't even wear or get much use out of. Another problem with buying for your fantasy self is that products will expire. So if I'm buying an eyeshadow palette because I think it's a cute little festival eyeshadow palette, I might go to a concert one day, that day will never come, or that day will come once in a blue moon, and by the time I get to use that product, it might be expired, or it might be something that I don't even want to use because I acquired something else that I like better. Now, I'm gonna talk to those of you who I would consider to be easily influenced. If you haven't learned your lesson already, the products that you most likely will always regret buying are trendy, gimmicky products. I'm talking about almost everything that goes viral on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram, anything that intrigues you online. We have to remember that this content sometimes is considered entertainment, and it helps to separate the entertainment from the actual want of buying that product. A product that I almost was influenced to buy and was on my wish list for a short period of time were the lip stains, or like lip liner stains from Sashu. Now, I'm sure these are a great product. I've seen videos on them. They do look like they work, they do look like they perform, but I've also heard reviews that they're very impractical because you have to set them on your lips for like 5 minutes or so for it to actually work. And the problem is, not everyone has those extra few minutes in the morning to make a lip stain work. This also applies to pH changing lip products or skincare tools like a gua sha or the red light therapy masks. I'm not saying that these products don't work. I'm not saying that these products are bad or will never work and you'll regret buying it because they're bad products. What I'm saying is, ask yourself, does this have a place in my beauty routine? Does this have a place in my lifestyle where I will actually get use out of this? Or am I just entertained and intrigued by the idea of trying out this product? If you're only intrigued to try out the product, you then have to ask yourself, is it worth spending $30 just to try a product to see if it actually works? Again, if we are not a content creator, if we are not an influencer, it's probably not going to be worth the coin. And it's almost the equivalent of gambling away your own money for the sake of entertaining yourself. There are other ways to entertain yourselves. You can read a book, you can play a game, you can do a puzzle, you can watch a movie. We don't need to spend money to entertain ourselves. And plus, that's why there are creators and influencers. Let them be the crazy ones, okay? Before we move on to the next product you will likely always regret buying, comment below a money emoji to let me know you've made it this far. The next one might be a little bit obvious for those of you who have been watching my channel for a while. I know a lot of my viewers already have a hold on this one, but I'm here to really talk to the shopaholics in this video. If you are impulsively buying products, specifically beauty products, without doing any research, I'm sorry to say it, but you're doing it wrong, because most of the time, if not 99.9% of the time, you will likely regret your purchase. And I know there are going to be people in the comments that are like, no, there's one time I bought something impulsively and I love it. Yes, okay. There are occasions where you buy something impulsively and you might like it. But the way that I look at impulsive purchases without research is like gambling. You are gambling however much you're willing to spend. $10, $5, $30, $50, $60, $80 on a product you don't even know is going to work for you, when there is so many resources out there that you can check out before you gamble this money. That is why I'm still in favor of certain beauty influencers and content creators who do try and test and review a lot of products, because they are there to help us make better purchasing decisions. And yes, there are some beauty influencers that lie, and yes, there are people that ruin it for everyone else, but There are other content creators and influencers who do review products to help us make better purchasing decisions. You do not need to be buying these things impulsively and gambling your money to see if it works or not. Take a picture of it, add it to your wish list, and then go home and see what the product is actually about. If you're in the store and you can't even tell what the claims of the product are, you're just swatching it but you know nothing else about it, it's probably not worth buying yet. Now, you know the phrase, if I like it, I'll buy it in a different color. Well, that doesn't apply to beauty products. This is probably a controversial perspective and I have definitely fallen victim to it, but because I've fallen victim to it, I can tell you from experience that it is not worth the purchase, and it's any kind of duplicates. Whether it's a duplicate formula in a different shade or a duplicate shade in a different formula, you will always like one product over the other, which means one product will likely always be used more than the other product. An example of this for me is the Haus Labs blushes. This is by far my absolute favorite blush formula. I'm wearing it on my cheeks today. I love the way that it looks, specifically the shade in Pomelo Peach. It's the first one I bought, was very excited about it, very happy with the purchase. It was on my wish list for a really long time before I decided to buy it, and the second I bought Pomelo Peach, realized I loved it, I went out and bought 2 more shades. Did I need to buy those 2 more shades? Definitely not. Do I still like the 2 shades? Yes, I do. But do I like it better than the original shade I bought, Pomelo Peach? No, because my preferences are always going to be a peachy toned blush. And because my preferences are a peachy toned blush, I also tend to buy duplicates when it comes to different formulas in the same shade. So I try a lot of blush formulas, and usually when a new blush comes out, my natural reaction is to find the warm tone shade of that blush, which always almost ends up being peach because it's a really popular blush color. It's in almost every blush range, and I'll usually just take it home and realize I have something like that already. So then I end up with a bunch of peachy tone shades in different formulas, and guess which one I will always reach for? The one that I like the most, which is Haus Labs. The next product you'll almost always regret buying are multiple face palettes. Again, I've fallen victim to this. I have multiple face palettes, and even though I have multiple face palettes, I actually do rotate them and use them often. I feel like I am that rare exception where most people wouldn't actually find use in face palettes, but for some reason I do, even though I have an extensive collection of makeup. I feel like face palettes are truly made for people who don't buy a lot of makeup. Like, I think that the audience for face palettes are people who don't shop for beauty products often. They kind of want makeup all in one space, and they will probably not buy makeup for another year, 6 months, or so. But the problem with face palettes, especially if you have an extensive makeup collection, is most of the times you're going to reach for what you like better. Now, have I bought a face palette where I like all of the shades? Yes. But have I bought a face palette where I only like 1 or 2 of the shades? Yes. So then it defeats the whole purpose of the face palette, because the whole point of the face palette is to have everything you love in one place. But if you only like 2 of the shades and then you have to carry another bronzer because maybe the bronzing shade in that palette you don't like, kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because now you have 2 bronzers. You have a bronzer in the face palette and then you have a single bronzer. And I noticed that a lot of people who do buy face palettes almost always end up only using 1 or 2 of the shades, and then they use whatever else that they have in their makeup collection that may be singles. So then you don't actually get the value out of that face palette. The next product that I think you will almost always regret buying are backups. Whether that's skincare, whether that's hair care, whether that's makeup, I feel like backups are kind of unnecessary. Now, again, there are exceptions. If something has been discontinued and they're never selling it again, I could see why someone would want to buy a backup. Or if something's on sale, you would want to buy a backup while it's on sale because you know you're going to buy it anyways. But what I'm really trying to challenge here is the amount of backups you're buying and how often you're buying backups. Beauty products products expire. They also take forever to finish. So for that reason, I don't always think buying a backup is worth it, whether it's on sale or whether the product has been discontinued, because they will likely expire by the time that you get to using it. My limit when it comes to buying skincare on backups is 1 to 2. 2 can kind of be excessive also, because unless you're someone who only will use that product and you don't try a lot of products, then sure, you'll likely get to your backup and use up your backup. But then there are people who do like to try new products, and if you're trying new products consistently, there's going to be a chance that you find something better. The beauty market is so competitive, and there are so many great products out there that are very comparable to each other that by the time that you get to your backup, you might have actually tried something else that you like better, or you might actually want to try something else instead of continuing to use your backup. Now, this point is definitely for me because I am so guilty of this. I am still guilty of this, and I'm trying to find ways to work on it, but I definitely have the shiny object syndrome because I cannot resist pretty packaging. So if you can't guess it already, the product that I think you will likely regret buying is anything just for the pretty packaging. Now, I've definitely been better about this. I try to make sure I do research on the product before I buy it because I like the packaging. So my criteria is that if it has pretty packaging, I can look into it. And if I hear that the formula is good, then I can continue to buy it because you can get the best of both worlds. My Victoria Beckham bronzing brick, gorgeous packaging, gorgeous formula, and it makes it feel so special and luxe, and it feels like the only bronzer I ever want to own because it has both pretty packaging and pretty formula. But there are a lot of scenarios where the product packaging is gorgeous, but the formula itself is terrible, and that has actually happened a couple of times for me when it comes to Gucci products. Even though the packaging was supposed to bring me joy, the product itself constantly reminded me of negative feelings because I just simply didn't like it. So if I am buying makeup with pretty packaging, it also has to be a great formula because I'm buying it for myself to feel good when I use it, but I'm not buying it to actually display and keep it as a collector's piece. So for me, it's always been a waste of money just to buy something because of the packaging. The next point is for those of you who love a good sale and just can't resist a good sale. I want you to take a moment and hear me out for a second. I think that for the most part, you'll almost always regret buying a product because it's on sale. It's different if you already have wanted the product and would have bought it full price, then it just so happens to be on sale. I feel like that is just working in your favor. But if you start browsing a sale because there's a sale and you never had anything on your list to buy in the first place, then it's not worth it. Because at that point, you're shopping because it's on sale. You're not shopping because you would have bought it in the first place. If you didn't have your eye on the product in the first place, it likely means you're probably shopping impulsively, which will then lead to regretting the purchase in the future. The way that I kind of prevent me from buying things just because it's on sale is that I just don't browse the sale section. I used to love shopping the sale section, but the reason why I stopped is because over time, I noticed that all of the products that I would end up getting rid of were products that I ended up getting on sale. It sucks to pay full price for things, and it isn't always the best for your wallet, or it's not the best value. However, I think sometimes when you pay full price, it makes you value the item a little bit more versus when you buy things that are very cheap on a very cheap deal, you kind of start to relate it to something you don't really care about. So I kind of compare it to like an influencer getting PR. It's easier to declutter as an influencer products that you got for free versus product that you bought with your own money. So the same thing when it comes to a sale, sometimes it's easier to declutter and just get rid of products that you bought on sale because you didn't waste a lot of money versus products that you paid full price. And yes, logically, financially, that doesn't always make sense. But in the long term, it does make sense to me because if I am valuing that product more, I will use it more and I will get my money's worth versus buying something on sale that I wasn't going to buy in the first place and then getting rid of it. The way that I prevent this is by keeping a running wish list throughout each month, updating it, editing it, curating it, and really thinking through what's on my wish list. And then if a sale does come along, I check if anything on my wish list is on sale. So for the Ulta sale that's happening right now, I checked if any of my wish list items were on sale. None of them were, not really surprising. So I didn't buy anything from the Ulta sale. Now my next point is kind of in line with buying products because they're on sale or because they're perceived to be a better value. I feel like most people will almost always regret buying a value set if you don't think it through clearly. So yes, value sets are sometimes, as it's named, a better value, stating the obvious here. However, it's not a better value if you don't really care about all of the products in the set. So Sephora has released some new value sets for the summer. They tend to release them also in the holiday time. The same thing with Ulta and other major retailers. They have these value sets because they seem like a better deal. And a lot of the times they actually are a better deal. For the current value sets that are being sold at Sephora, they're only a better deal if what you want in that set is total to be cheaper than if you were to buy them separately from the set. I think Sephora has a lip set with a couple of full-size items. If you want 2 of those full-size items and you add them together and that price of the value set is cheaper than if you bought the 2 items separately, then okay, it might be worth it for you to buy that set. But even then, you're left with these other products that you might not even end up liking, and you're buying them with the idea again to try them to see if you like them. The same thing when it comes to holiday sets. They tend to have a lot of holiday sets with like things you might want to restock on. For me, I purchased a value set of the Youth to the People cleanser. It came with the full size and then also the refillable size, and I also got a 20% off on top of that. To me, that felt like a great deal because I was going to use it up. I knew I was going to use it all up, but it would be a terrible purchase if first of all you've never tried the Youth to the People cleanser and now you have a lot of the Youth to the People cleanser, and you might realize after the first couple of uses you don't like the cleanser and then you just have so much left over. Or what has actually happened to me personally is that I had to switch from the Youth to the People cleanser to a different cleanser because with the weather change, my skin has just been overreacting to a lot of products. So I switched over to a gentle cleanser, and now my Youth to the People cleanser isn't really getting used right now. I'm hoping to be able to switch back over to it in the winter time, or at least in the fall time where it gets cooler. But if I don't, the value size is no longer going to be a value for me because I had to switch over cleansers. So again, you never really know how your beauty routine is going to change, if it's going to change, and for that reason, sometimes buying value sizes of items are not worth it because you don't end up going through it all. The last beauty product or item that I think you 100% will always regret buying, and if you do not agree with me on this, what are you doing on this channel? I think a majority of you are going to agree with me on this. Whether you have fallen victim to it or you have never done this in your life, you could probably agree that any purchase that you make on your credit card or on money that you don't have is going to be a purchase that you regret in the long run. I don't really think that I need to explain this, but if you can't pay for it in cash, if you can't pay for it with money that you already have, you probably just shouldn't buy it at all, because especially on a credit card, the interest rates are so high. If you can't pay it off right away, you're likely going to end up paying 20% more just because you bought that product on a credit card. And most credit cards have like 20% plus interest, which is insanity. The beauty world and even the fashion world, they like to use the word investments, like you're investing in your beauty, you're investing in your self-care. You're not investing in anything. Investments are supposed to give you a return, and when you buy a beauty product, the only return you're going to get is temporary. With that being said, I believe that the best beauty purchases are the ones that actually reflect your lifestyle, your preferences, and your actual budget. Makeup and skincare is so personal. It should make you feel really good in your skin. It shouldn't make you feel worse. And most of the times, if it's making you feel worse, it's because 1, it's something you bought impulsively. 2, it's something you bought with money that you don't have. 3, it's something that you bought that isn't actually true to who you are present day. These are all of the products that I do not think you should waste your time, money, or energy on. They're also products that I personally have decluttered, and I just don't want you to make the same mistake. Slowly but surely, Generally, I hope we both get to a point where we are no longer feeling buyer's remorse, where we are no longer regretting purchases that we buy. I also hope that I get to the point where I run out of videos where I talk about products that I regret purchasing. I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping to get there soon. If you did enjoy this video and found it helpful and want to hear more about my critical thoughts and opinions about makeup and beauty products, then I will link my Criticizing New Makeup Releases series somewhere in the cards and in the description if you want to watch more after this one. Don't forget to start a conversation down in the comments below. I think it's always helpful to learn from each other's mistakes, and I hope you learned something from mine. Let me know if there are any products that you have regret purchasing. You could also favorite this video if you want a reminder the next time you go shopping, but don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new to my channel, and as always, I'll catch you on the flip side.